I truly, genuinely didn't think that Sookie would actually do something to her. I thought she'd probably just drug her or try to threaten her maybe. But imagine my absolute surprise when she picked up the cord and started strangling her. And she finished the job. I mean, that was one hell of an introduction. I genuinely, I'm speechless, I swear to God. Hello and welcome to Talk About Drama, where we talk about what's hot and what's not in the drama world. And today we're going to talk about Hyperknife, specifically the first episode. It currently has 8 episodes out, and I believe it's available on Disney Plus worldwide, I think. And oh my god, it's such a good show. But more than that, the first episode was so good. It genuinely blew my mind. And I think the last time that happened to me was with Goblin. And that episode was an hour and a half. And this is just 1 hour, 7 minutes. But it felt longer. At one point I was genuinely checking, like, is there any more left? And to my surprise, there was like 12 more minutes left. And I was like, wow. It's one of the most well-rounded series premiere I've ever seen. And usually with Korean dramas, the first episode is usually a hit or miss. And most of the time they spend trying to build up character. They sort of, and they give us the backstories. And they sort of try to smooth things over for the next 4 or so episodes where we finally get to the core of the story. And then from the 5th episode onwards, we finally get to the point where the story actually starts. But over here in the first episode itself, you've established your characters, both of them. You've established the conflict between the both of them. And you've established the line of action that they're going to take going forward. And it's only an hour, 7 minutes. I mean, and it's good storytelling. And the way they marketed it did such a disservice to the story, because I saw the trailers and it looked more like a revenge story where she's out for him because he ruined her career. And yes, that is the core of the story, but there's so many layers. It's like watching 2 psychopaths go at it, and we just really need to see like who gets on the top at the end of it, like who's the winner. And it's probably Jung Se-hyuk from the looks of it, because Dr. Choi has this brain tumor and he needs it removed, and he's not in a really good position, but he can also emerge as the victor. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's just start with the story of the first episode itself, because I'm genuinely speechless, because it's such a good first episode, and it's such a good episode in itself because it's fast paced. They're not waiting around for doctors to come and tell the story. No, they're showing it to us. It's a show, not tell approach, because they're not feeding us the story. They're not telling us, oh dear, oh yeah, she got kicked out, oh dear. We're not watching 2 people gossip and get the story through them. We're actually watching it happen in real time. So Jung Se-hyuk is currently working as an unlicensed doctor, and she's performing black market surgeries. And the opening 10 minutes is just her performing the surgery, intercut with Dr. Choi performing the surgery. And it's a stark difference, but they're both under the same circumstances, where they both need perfection. Jung Se-hyuk, when she's performing the surgery, there's a noise in the background and she gets startled and really annoyed. And that prompts the mafia guy to clear the room. At the same time, when Dr. Choi is performing his surgery, one of the doctors who's working with him, he's probably a junior doctor, he looks at him mid-surgery and he's like, why are you looking at me? Do I have something on my face? And he's like, sorry, I won't be distracted anymore. And he kicks him out. And they're so similar in terms of how they both hate being disrupted. They need an environment where they're both just focused completely on the patient, like no external interferences. But they're performing a surgery in different locations. Dr. Choi's room is a proper hospital where he's got a proper equipment, he's got proper lighting, he's got proper room, sterilized room. And Jung Se-hyuk is performing on the tops on a mobster, which might result to her being getting killed if the guy does not survive this. And they both have audiences, like Dr. Choi is being observed from a gallery upstairs, and Jung Se-hyuk is being observed by the mobsters around the top, who eventually get sent away. But my point is, they did such a good job establishing those characters. They did such a good job in establishing those parallels Because we're seeing two people do the exact same thing in two separate locations. And they're so in sync with each other. And some people are actually trying to look for her. And the tape of the surgery eventually lands in the hands of the police, who are after the black market surgery people. And that's how Dr. Choi actually gets his hands on it. And he realizes, well, there's only one person I know who can actually perform this surgery. And surprise, surprise, it's Jung Se-hyuk. And wow, Jung Se-hyuk is really, I wouldn't say a crazy character, because she does have a reason behind what she's doing. You can see there's clearly a reason behind the madness in her eyes. But then if things go south, she's not afraid of getting her hands dirty. And wow. Because she was getting blackmailed by the nurse who assisted in the operation, and she actually knew her from before. Because Jung Se-hyuk has lost her license and she's unlicensed performing surgeries, and she would get arrested and probably questioned over this as well. But when the nurse threatens her, Jung Se-hyuk keeps her mouth shut and she pretends everything's fine, even though the mobster guy that she performed the surgery on offered her help for anything that she ever required, because she obviously saved his life. And the thing that she told him was, we all need to take care of our messes, don't we? And I thought that she would threaten the lady. I thought she would call his underlings in the room, because the nurse drugged the mob boss. Had she made a fuss about it, the nurse probably would have been offed by his underlings who were really outside, because she injected the mob boss with some anesthetics and put him to sleep when he wasn't really supposed to be sleeping. And she could have claimed that, she harmed him essentially, and they could have just offed her off. But she said, no, I'll take care of my own problems. And at night, when it started raining again, she got rid of everybody and used the nurse's bad habit of going through people's stuff, of stealing her water bottle and essentially putting drugs in it. She drank the water, she got drugged, she got knocked out. She woke up, she was delirious, but she was searching for her bag. She went through the whole of the temple, I think it's a temple, and she was just muddling through it with a torch in hand. And I was just thinking, lady, you've got nerves of steel going around in that place with just a flashlight. And then realised that, bad people are really scared of bad things, because they've probably done worse. So she finds her bag in the top covered room, and, she finds, the cash is still in there. She counts it, and the moment she reaches to 7, Jung Se-hyuk appears behind her with a cord in hand, and she strangles the lady. Do you know how hard it is to strangle a person? Because to crush a person's windpipe, you have to apply enormous pressure. And it wasn't like she was miserable doing it, she was laughing. There was madness in her eyes when she was doing it, and she finished the job. And her assistant, I think he's an assistant, Mr. So, he realised that, Jung Se-hyuk sent him on a false errand, and he turned back, but by the time he came, the job had been done. The blackmailing nurse was already in the netherworld, and Jung Se-hyuk was just casually holding her share of the money, and she just left it there in the donation box. And she asked him, we have a shovel in the back of the trunk, didn't we? I mean, I swear to God, it's not grey anymore, it's black. And you usually say, you have grey characters where it's implied that, they did something bad. And in the later episodes, we realise, well, they didn't really do it. They didn't really go through with it. They sort of threatened them and then they gave up midway. But over here, when Jung Se-hyuk's assistant, caretaker, Mr. So, picks up the shovel and he takes it out from the back of the truck that he was driving, it has clumps of hair stuck at the tip of it, implying that she really did kill that lady and they buried her over there. And she's raising Rottweilers and she cares for them like their own children. Yes, I know Rottweilers are a very discriminated against breed, but that also can translate to her taming this fierce dog and making them her people who crave for affection, because she's on a much higher level of craziness, much higher level of danger than the dogs. And she's got 3 Rottweilers, really cute and so beautiful. And then you see that, her day job is a pharmacist and she's helping this woman sew her stitch because she fell down. And she's not a bad person if you look at it, because she's been forced into these circumstances because she got kicked out of the hospital. She lost her license, and now she no longer has a means to do anything really. But then you realize that, as a pharmacist, she's probably earning enough money. So she's not strapped for cash. She has a house, a decent house, albeit in the countryside, to live in. And she's got a stable job, sort of, but she's still doing it. She's still doing the illegal surgeries. And it's probably for the thrill of it. It's probably because that's the thing that gets her on. The feeling of cutting into someone's skull, the feeling of having power over that person as he lays there immobile on your table, the feeling of finally getting rid of the tumor or whatever it is that she's searching for, the exhilaration of finally closing a patient and successfully performing a surgery. She probably misses it, and that's what led her to perform black market surgeries. I might be wrong, but then again, she has that crazy look in her eyes, and that didn't come in day one. And then we sort of see the daily life of Dr. Choi as he tries to track down Jung Se-hyuk. In the beginning, we thought it was more of him being concerned about this girl that he kicked out of the hospital, and him sort of trying to get in touch with her to see what she's doing, what she's up to, because he does know that she is performing the black market surgeries, and he gets in touch with this lady who puts him in touch with this guy who does help with black market operations, but he's like, no, I didn't find her. The Chinese were looking for her. And they're like, oh, I wanted to know because I didn't think the patient survived. But the black market guy was like, because they're looking for her so crazily, he probably survived. And you know what? He did survive. And then we find out the real reason why he's looking for her. And then we see what happened when she got kicked out. And then we see a flashback that tells us more about the surgery that Jung Se-hyuk performed, her last surgery as a licensed doctor. And initially I thought, well, she must have operated on a high-risk patient without the approval of her professor, really, because she looks to be a resident. But then he literally pulls her out, drags her out. Not himself, but he asks his minions to sort of drag her out of the operating room while the patient is still open. And he tells her, you know what? You're done. And he walks away. And Jung Se-hyuk, she chases after him, grabs an IV line, and tries to strangle him with it. I mean, I get it. That's probably her first instinct, because we know with the blackmailer lady as well, she tried to strangle her. But this was different. She wasn't really trying to strangle him, but she was so angry at him for putting her out of the operating room, putting her out of what she thought that she was doing the right thing. Then she tried to strangle him, and I thought a normal doctor at that point would be scared. He'd call for security. He'd call for the police. But you know what this guy does? He slaps her twice. And to be fair, she does spit on him in the middle, but he slaps her twice. So he does have that kind of crazy in him. He's not exactly Mr. Goody Two Shoes. He is crazy. He does have nerves of steel, and he's probably done way more shit than she has done in her entire life, and he's probably got more to hide than she does. And obviously throughout the series we will see her trying to unravel this guy and trying to find the skeletons in his closet. But that scene, I was genuinely 2 times in this entire episode I had a hand to my mouth in surprise. And the first one was when she was strangling the blackmailer lady. And the second time was when she tried to strangle Dr. Choi. I was not expecting that. And Park Hyun-min is such a good actress, because she was fine when he was slapping her. She only sort of came to her senses when he slapped her the second time. And she broke down when he threatened her career, when he threatened her with never stepping foot in the operating room, when he threatened her medical license and told her, till the end of your life, I will make sure that you don't step into another operating room. And you see her break down. And the next instance, she's sitting on her knees in front of probably what appears to be his residential complex, all dressed in scrubs. And usually you see in historical dramas that, princes, princesses, queens, they'd do this in front of the king's palace to try and get their forgiveness or to try and get things sorted out with them. But he simply glances at her and he walks away. And that's when she finally breaks down crying. And that was actually quite heartbreaking. But there was a madness in that scream as well, because inside of her, that rage that's bubbling out, you finally see that in the final moments when Dr. Choi manages to track her down, comes into her house with a cake of all things. And, she's roughly slicing it up. There's red cherries, which is quite bloody. And then, she's offering him a drink. And in the back of my mind, I'm just going, don't drink that. Please don't drink that. The last lady who drank her water didn't end up quite well. So I would advise you against it, but go ahead. I don't know if he drinks it or not. And this guy, he's really riling her up because he tells her about her ex-colleagues on how they've become professors and how she could have been a professor had all that shit not gone down. And he's basically egging her. And when she's finally had enough, she tells him, like, tell me what it is. And then he finally opens up. I have a brain tumor, a glioblastoma, I believe. And it's in a really tricky position, probably the same as the guy that she performed the surgery on in the video. And he wants somebody to perform the surgery for him because he can only take 2 months off. And it can't affect his hands. It can't affect his motor functions because, he needs to be back in the operating room. And she's like, oh, well, you can probably ask one of those professors that you mentioned before. And he's like, well, I will tell you when the surgery is scheduled. And the absolute disbelief on her face. The absolute disbelief on my face, even though I knew it was coming. The audacity of this man. He ruined her career, got her kicked out, and now he's asking her, basically threatening her to perform his surgery. And I'm just thinking, like, she could have just offed him right there and then. But then he walks out of the house, and I don't know if he's drank the water or not, but he's having those headaches once again, the gripping ones. And he reaches for his medicine bag, he takes out the bottle of, I'm assuming, anesthetic. And, it obviously tumbles out of his hands, onto the steps, down. And, Jung Seok bursts out of her house, kicks the bottle into the yard, and stomps on it. She keeps stomping on it until there's nothing left but shards. And she's like, oh, I hope you didn't expect me to call a cab for you. And we see the same position that they had been when she had come to ask forgiveness, essentially. And, at that point, Dr. Choi was looking down at her and he walked past her. And this time, Dr. Choi is down, laid down in a prostrate position, essentially. And Jung Se-uk walks past him, stands tall above him and holds the position of power, looking down at him and be like, oh, you insect. I'm actually quite glad I started it because I was going through a drama slump. And I did start watching quite a few episodes of different dramas, but I just couldn't follow through. Plus, I was travelling as well, and I didn't really have that much of time to catch up. And I didn't really feel the urgency to catch up either. But this one episode did away with all of my blues. Like, genuinely. Like, and I love Park In-min. I loved her in Extraordinary Attorney Woo. I loved her in Do You Like Brahms? And this, she's really outdone herself because, she has a voice that's melodic. It's so soothing to hear. Because, I remember in Extraordinary Attorney Woo, she's almost robotic in the way she speaks. And over here, it's still that same melodic voice, but it's cold and it's so... It scratches you, essentially. And when she's really screaming, she's really shouting. It's still that same scratchy voice, but it doesn't hurt your ears. I don't know how to explain this. And then there's Dr. Choi, who's essentially speaking in a deadpan voice from the beginning to the end. Every time he speaks to anybody, he's still speaking in that same tone, level tone, deadpan all around. And, Sol Kyung-gu is such a good actor. I really loved him in The Moon. And the experience is showing because throughout the series, if he's annoyed, if he's angry, if he's scared, if he's condescending, he's still maintaining the same voice. But you can see he's really looking down on people. And it's not like he's speaking in a monotonous voice, no. But it's still the same level. Whereas with Jung Se-uk, that's still the melodious, cold voice that she's speaking in. But she screams, she shouts because she's angry, she's frustrated. Whereas Dr. Choi has accepted his diagnosis. He's accepted the fact that, he might not be able to operate on anybody in the future. But then this person came back into his life and he has hope. But he's not hopeful in, he's still speaking in the same deadpan voice. Because he knows that, he's got leverage on her. He knows that she will perform the surgery. He knows that, there is a good chance now that he will get the operation done, he will be able to go back into his beloved OR. And I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, you want the girl that you kicked out to hold a knife and dig into your skull while you're there on the operating table, completely incapacitated, unable to do anything. And you're saying that to her in such a confident tone, even though 2 minutes later she tries to kill you. And I know that he will go through with this operation because he doesn't have any other choice. That's really a messed up dynamics, but I'm living for it. And the title is so well deserved, Hyperknife, because it's going at a hyper speed, and they're all holding a scalpel in their hands. They're all holding a knife to each other's throats. Because right now, Jung Seok is being threatened, but I'm very sure with the resourcefulness that she's been showing in the first episode itself, she would probably be able to dig out some dirt on Dr. Choi and sort of try to get back at him. But let's see. I'm not going to spoil the further episodes. I just really, really, really wanted to focus on the first episode because it's so good. And they're really going at breakneck speed over here. I don't know if it would falter at the end. I really don't know, but I really hope not. I really hope they keep up with this level of storytelling because there's so many layers. Like the So guy, she's operated on him in the past. He has a surgery scar and he's obviously not naive. He's obviously a good guy, but he has no qualms in helping her bury a body. He has no qualms, even though he knows that, she has the tendency to kill people. And he's not afraid of her, even though he knows that if push comes to shove, she might off him just to get out of the situation. But he's all happy-go-lucky and quite sulkily telling her, please don't kill any more people. And he was literally peeking out of his room when she was meeting Dr. Choi in her house, and he's like, please don't kill him. And I really do want to know, what happened between the both of them. How did he end up meeting her? How did they end up doing this with Dr. Han? And what is the story behind these two people? And what is the story behind Jung Seok? And I really hope that, they do maintain this pace. They do maintain this level of storytelling. And, till the time they reach to episode 8, which is the final episode, they don't mess it up too much. Because I would really, really be interested to see how this plays out towards the end. Because I haven't watched it all. I watched it up to the halfway point, but I really just went back and watched the first episode once again because it was so good. And it's like peeling an onion. But if you go too fast, you'll end up not crying, but you will probably end up ruining the bulbs. And if you go too slow, you'll probably end up crying. So I don't want the melodrama to go on too fast, because if you tag it on too much, it eventually gets bogged down in terms of the entire storytelling. But on the other hand, if you end up attaching not enough of drama, if you don't end up giving all of the information, or most of the information really, you just end up with loose ends, which is way worse. So I really hope they don't go off script over here. They really stick to the pace that they have been keeping up in the first episode. And I think they might, because there's only 8 episodes, and I don't think they are going for a season 2. I think this is the first and the only season. But let's see, because Extraordinary Attorney Woo did get renewed later on when it did really well. So hopefully Hyperknife does well, and if it really ends on a cliffhanger or a really ambiguous note, they do give us a second season to sort of get more clarity on things. But let's see. And I haven't been posting that frequently because really I was going through a drama slump and I was traveling, and I just really didn't have the time. But thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and thank you so much for clicking on that episode. It really means a lot to me, and I hope I'm able to deliver episodes on a scheduled basis, but at least once a week. But yes, thank you so much for sticking to the end of the episodes. And if you would like to connect with me, you can obviously find me on Instagram or Twitter. My handle is talk_about_drama. And right now I'm really just hyping up Hyperknife. And I would probably finish it up before I move on to other series. But I did see the lemons about Song Zuo's drama passing censorship created in China. And well, if The Prisoner of Beauty is still there, and so is Reading Class, and I really hope that, those dramas get released, at least within this year, because Liu Ying, Huo Minghao, really, And I don't know if the lemon's going to come true, but there is a rumor going around that Foxbird Matchmaker Love in Pavilion is going to release on the 13th of April. It's probably going to airdrop, but they are recording episodes. Liu Shishi and Jung Yulong are recording Hello Saturday episodes, so they probably would go live as well, which I'm really looking forward to because Red Moon Pact was so bad. It was genuinely so bad. Like, I try to stick around because they do show a little bit of the other stories as well. But it was genuinely so bad. I couldn't stick around even though I fast forwarded it. So let's hope this isn't as bad, because I've been obsessed with the trailer for both the second and the third, but especially the second. And let's hope they really live up to the hype, because we all know it's going to be bad ending. But let's hope it's a good bad ending. So let's see. And apart from that, I was just watching another Chinese drama, Game of True Love. And it's got Fan Jishin, who I really, really like. Like, my Lethal Man was honestly so good. Like, it was very well filmed. And anyways, it's a remake of a Thai show, Game Saneha, which again, James G. And so yeah, I do have a couple of episodes to go, so wish me luck as I finish them off. It's a short drama, but it's got loads of episodes, so let's see. Apart from that, I did try to follow The Glory, but I'm stuck midway. I'm not really able to move forward, but let's see. I'm scared to watch When Life Gives You Tangerine's final 4 episodes, because I've seen the responses online and I'm scared. I'd probably just cry my heart out and then just go into a depressive drive. I'd just start it all over again and just get a good cry out of it. But let's see. I am, although, waiting for a couple of others to pile up. For example, Divorce Insurance. It looked good on paper, but let's see. Buried Hearts is about to end, and I did get to the midway point, and Park Hyung-sik is so good. He's genuinely improved so much over the years, and I really do want to talk about it. Let's see if I'm able to get over my hyperfixation of Hyperknife, and if Foxbird Matchmaker airs and it's actually good, it will probably push back a little, but I'm sorry, but let's see. I do end up saying I will make an episode on this, on that, and then the next episode is just on a completely unrelated show, which is a really bad habit of mine, because I start following something and then in the middle of it I just get distracted by something else, and I'm like, oh, shiny, and then I start following that one and just sort of leave it over there. It's a really bad habit, and I do have a lot of shows that I really want to make episodes on, but let's see how it pans out. And again, thank you so much for listening to me blab about episode 1 of Hyperknife. But really, if you have any doubts, please go watch it. I genuinely, truly, one of the best first episodes I've seen in a really long time. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you next time. Until then, ciao.